Carbon taxes and carbon credits, these are words that we hear and it soothes our heart that at least someone's doing something about it, but we don't really understand. So if a government imposes a tax on every ton of carbon that is emitted by a manufacturer or by an industry, a business, then it is encouraging that business to limit their emissions or to purchase carbon credits from another business that has captured carbon. And we say, okay, so at least it works. Well, of all the countries in the world, only 27 countries currently have a carbon tax, meaning that the great majority of the planet does not have a carbon tax and will not see the incentive of doing anything about it. Okay, so most of the carbon tax solution doesn't work. It's important to keep it up. The goal is not to abolish the carbon tax, but to make sure it becomes a global situation. Like everyone has to feel that pressure. And with that carbon tax, the governments are not only investing in environmental solutions because they were not voted for that. So some governments, they invest that money back into the environment. Some governments just do not, or it's partial. Simply because we vote for governments for healthcare, education, jobs, asphalt in the streets, water in the pipes, and stuff like that. So we're immediately demanding a certain amount of infrastructure and care, and the environment is always pushed back. Okay, so the governments can't do much with the few dollars or euros they get per ton. Then there's a carbon credit. So only 3 countries in the world do their carbon tax is higher than the carbon credit cost. So you can buy a ton of carbon credit for about $60 or 60 euros on the stock market for carbon. There's various stock markets for carbon credits. So you can buy it for a certain amount, and the tax is so much lower. Like in Spain, it's 15 euros per ton. In Canada, I think it's 34 Canadian dollar per ton. So it's so much lower than people will pay their taxes to Canada or Spain or Portugal or France or any other country instead of buying a carbon credit, okay? Or there might be a balance, carbon credit versus taxes. So the situation here is that so few countries have a carbon tax, and so few of those countries are encouraging manufacturers to buy carbon credit instead of just paying the tax. The tax does not entirely go into the environment. And if it currently costs 600 euros to capture and sequester a ton of carbon, how can 15 or 20 or 30 euros do that thing that costs 600 euros to, it's just not viable. It's not viable. It's not enough. So the governments can't resolve it. Big corpo cannot resolve it. Because, big corpo, then it's everyone who has placements, investments, and portfolios, and a retirement plan. If you have a retirement plan, you hope for your retirement plan to make money. You want it to make kids, and you're hoping for interest. Well, these interests, they don't sprout out of nowhere. These interests come from the profit of big corpo. So when we look at big corpo, when we're angry that they're not investing in the climate change situation, the thing is, some of them are at a very low scale compared to what we need, but they are. And they're investing only because of the social pressure that requires it. But if they start investing in the climate change, what will happen is we will not see interest in our placements, in our portfolios. We will see our pension plans diminish instead of increase. So we're just going to pull them out and give it to someone else who doesn't invest in environment so we can have our interest. So we can't blame big corpo for not resolving the crisis that they have created, because we are taking them as slaves of interest. We want to have our interests paid on our financial placements. So we are the cause of big corpo not being able to invest, okay? Government can't do it. It's not that they won't, it's they can't. Big corpo can't. So we have to do it ourselves. And the solution is not to pull out all our investments and the solution is plan for a good future and put a few dollars a month away just so that we can collectively resolve the situation.